But I want to start here. I think it's important for Americans to get buyer's remorse on this last election quickly. And I'm not saying that facetiously. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying that to save yourself. I hope you start to get buyer's remorse quickly, because that is the only way we're going to stop a disaster. But before I go into the disaster, I want folks to recall a few facts. And I can give reasons why these facts are, but let's just talk about the facts first. The economic system in America always, bar none, always does better under a Democratic president than under a Republican president. Republicans are great marketers, but that's all they do. Market. The Republican politicians are great marketers, but that is all they do. Market. Okay? It is important for you to know that when added up for the last 100 years plus, when you break down every single Democratic or Republican administration, the Democratic administration has outperformed the Republican administration, not by a little bit, by a bunch. One had an average growth of 2-point-something%. The other one had an average growth of 3-point-something%. That represents over a 30% differential. That's huge. So with all the rhetoric that you hear, Democratic presidencies gives you better economic activity than Republican presidencies. That's not up for debate. That's not a question. Any Republican person, or I should say, anybody who wants to defend Republican policies can give me a call. 713-526-5738. Those are simply the absolute numbers. In terms of where people are now and what people can recall, we don't have to go back to FDR, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can start with Carter. Carter had a much better job growth than every Republican president except, and I'm not even sure if it's except, but I have it in my book, but I can't remember it right now, except for Reagan. And the president that has the largest job growth, bar none, yes, it's Biden in one term, but it's also Clinton in as far as absolute employment numbers. Again, Biden for absolute employment numbers, I think Clinton for percentages. All the other Republican presidents, when it comes to employment, has wailed behind Democratic presidents. Those are facts. You can look them up. I've also, I have a book called As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. I'm looking for those numbers right now because a lot of people don't believe these things because they listen to the crap they hear on TV and think because they're hearing it from a ABC, CBS, that somehow it makes sense. Let's go through some numbers. George Bush, in 2 terms, 3 million people hired. Bill Clinton, 23 million people. George H. Walker Bush, the older Bush, 2.5 million. Ronald Reagan, 16 million. Now, again, remember, Bill Clinton had over 6 million people more than Ronald Reagan. Yet everybody always talk about the Ronald Reagan economy, which wasn't really a success as one would believe. And I've written about that in my book as well. As I See It, Class Warfare, the Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Here's the other kicker. Jimmy Carter, one term, 10.5 million people hired. Gerald Ford, 1.8 million. Richard Nixon, 9.4 million. Lyndon Johnson, 11.9 million. John Kennedy, 3.6 million. Dwight Eisenhower, 3.5. Truman, 8.4. So in every number that matters, Democratic presidents outperform Republican presidents. That's not up for debate. Those numbers are there for all to see. Now you have elected Donald Trump with all the bells and whistles, with Donald Trump saying the economy, the catastrophic nature of the Biden economy, all lies, but the catastrophic nature. And many of you chose to believe it. The first time he got elected, he didn't get the popular vote. So we could forgive folks we could say, well, it's the aberration within the Constitution that gave this guy the election in 2016. So we can kind of accept that, because in reality he didn't win in 2016. And when he talked about the American carnage and all of that, it was crap. Obama left the next president a damn good economy after having to recover the crap from Bush 2. Reagan and Bush 1 destroyed our economic system by creating a system of debt. They wanted big tax cuts. They wanted big military spending, and they knew they couldn't touch Social Security. So what did they do? Reagan started the times of exploding the budget. They're always talking about let's go ahead and balance the budget and economic security, and they talk the talk, but they are the ones that consistently blow the budget up. And it started again, not Carter. Reagan blew the budget up. And of course, after Reagan came, Bush got reelected. Bush called Reaganomics, he called Reaganomics voodoo economics. Bush 1 called Reaganomics, which was supply side economics, also known as trickle down economics. He called it voodoo economics. And remember, Bush 1 also said no new taxes, but he realized the crap that Reagan left him, and he had to go back on that promise and raise taxes. He started raising taxes on the wealthy because Reagan left the deficit in shambles, the debt in shambles. They don't talk about that on TV. They don't talk about it because, as Richard Wolff, the economist, would say, we were living on borrowed money. And if I give you borrowed money, you have the semblance of prosperity, not real prosperity, the semblance of prosperity. And that is what Reagan left, the semblance of prosperity with the debt that he created as he cut taxes, as he raised the defense budget, the semblance of prosperity. Bush 1 came in, and Bush 1 said, oh my God, look at what this guy left me. I always knew it was voodoo economics, so I got to go back on my no taxes. So Bush went ahead and raised taxes. So the recovery that Clinton had actually started with Bush 1. Clinton comes in, and after Bush and Reagan destroyed the debt and the deficit, Clinton comes in and he raised taxes like he should. And the first and only president since Carter to get a balanced budget was who? A Democrat named Clinton. You don't hear a lot about that, do you? You don't hear that balanced budgets occurred under Democrats. And look, I caucus personally, take my host hat off. I caucus with Democrats, but I am a full-fledged left-wing progressive because that's the only thing that really solves the human problem. That's the only folks who believe in humanity. Humanity first and policies that support humanity, not neoliberalism, etc., etc., etc. Now, but Clinton comes in. And he saves the day. He balances the budget. And what happens after Clinton? Gore, because of Clinton's peccadillos, refused to hug what they've done together and allowed himself to be triangulated by Bush 2. And Bush 2 comes in, and after Clinton cleans up the budget and makes us fiscally responsible, Bush comes in and did exactly what Reagan did. Destroyed the budget. Tax cuts, spending on the military, all these things that crashed the thing. He did again. And the economic system showed it with the employment that he had. And again, like I said, the policies of Republican politicians always do worse than the Democrats. Why? Because of their beliefs. It's an ideological thing. They believe in tax cuts for wealthy folks, which don't circulate money in an economy. Because if you have a lot of money, getting more doesn't cause you to spend more. And an economy depends on economic activity. It's simple. It's not rocket science, but that's what happens. Now, Bush destroys the economy again. And not only did he destroy the economy, but Clinton made a mistake when he signed the tax bill. In other words, to get his tax increases through a Republican Congress, to get all these things, well, actually, he got the tax increase through a Democratic Congress. Not one Republican voted for it. But subsequent to that, there's this rule called Glass-Steagall. Glass-Steagall is the rule or laws that protect investment banking from general banking. Okay, clean banking. And because they broke that wall down, all kinds of shenanigans were practiced during the Bush administration with turning home mortgages into securities that were then turned into derivatives. And these derivatives were packaged in such a way that they seemed that they were more secure than they were. And then they gave bad loans to a whole lot of people that couldn't afford homes that they got. I mean, the whole shebang was a fraud. And I have a 5-part series about billionaires with Patrick Lovell that I'm going to be playing on my 3:00 shows in the next few weeks. A 5-part series that explains this mortgage destruction that occurred under the Bush administration. But Bush comes in, destroyed the economy. And when I say destroy the economy, I'm not saying that lightly. The entire world's economy were locked up, and they were locked up and specifically caused by a financial instrument from capitalism called the derivative. Investment swaps, etc. These are financial instruments and insurance policies on financial securities, combinations of all these things that froze the economy because in software, we call it the deadly embrace. Let me just give you the simple form of it. I buy a mortgage insurance, or rather, they go ahead and they put several mortgages into a security. Let's call it a stock just for the sake of argument. And me as an investor, I am not too sure about that security, so I buy insurance on that security. And that insurance company, would buy insurance on the insurance they sell with another company on these derivatives derived from mortgage securities. And we go back and in circle. But eventually what happens is security A is insured by B, B is insured by C, C is insured by D, and D is insured by A. That's the deadly embrace, because if A fails, A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to D, and D said, oh, I failed. Let me go to A. But wait a minute, A failed. So A is going to go back to B. That is a situation. That is a shenanigans that capitalism plays. That's a shenanigans that these billionaires play. These people that you call geniuses, these people that you think are necessary for our economy to succeed, these failures, these parasites did that to the economy to the order of $71 trillion. I have a special coming up on that with Patrick Lovell, a 5-part series that's going to talk about that. $71 trillion. And you know what? The government just inflated money around the world to take the businessmen that created these shenanigans to make them whole. Our government, the United States government, along with the central banks around the world, created money to bail these corporations and billionaires out. And then they want to blame us for the problem. We took out loans we couldn't afford. No, you push loans on people because you wanted a high supply of these securities so that you could manufacture money and get rich. The average American citizen doesn't get this on TV. They don't understand these concepts. But that is what they did. So that is what occurred under Bush. And here comes Obama. And instead of Obama locking up all these thugs, these thieves, these billionaires for what they've done to the world's economy, they bailed them out. But in the process, they revived the economy. And by Obama's 8th year and last year, the economy was from the time he got into office, the economy was on an upswing, and he left Donald Trump an economy on the upswing. Donald Trump did nothing. Absolutely nothing for the economy other than two things: increased tariffs on China, which started the rise of inflation, and number two, a tax cut. A humongous tax cut unpaid for which ballooned the deficit. Even the woman who ran against him went ahead and said, look, you caused more to the deficit than anybody else. Donald Trump, that is. And Donald Trump also mismanaged, of course, the pandemic. And in mismanaging the pandemic, got 1 million Americans killed, died because of the mismanagement of a pandemic. Died because of the mismanagement of a pandemic. So he summarily lost the election, landslide in electoral college, landslide in votes. 7 million votes is what Biden got relative to Trump. And of course, Trump caused an insurrection. He was the leader of a terrorist attack on America to cause a coup. Anniversary was yesterday. Today, I probably won't get to cover it, but there's a cop that came out and wrote an op-ed yesterday in the New York Times that says if Trump is going to pardon these people, my God, whatever happened to law and order? You being a law and order president, and you're going to pardon these guys who beat up cops, right? But anyhow, so when he lost, he effected a terrorist attack on the United States via an insurrection, a coup, an attempted coup that failed. But for that, an inept Justice Department, instead of immediately arresting him as they came into power as being the thug and the terrorist that he was, and making sure that he got convicted for attempting to overthrow the United States of America, he got the pass of, men get certain kind of passes in this country. He got the pass. Even though he did that. Now, Biden comes into power with a pandemic that was exacerbated by not only Trump doing bad things, but Trump allowing conspiracy theories and all these things to occur that killed people. But Biden just put his head down and got to work. Biden put his head down and got to work. I want to play you something here real quick about the Biden's economy and what Trump is up against now as he comes into power. Remember, it's important that you guys who voted for Trump start with your buyer's remorse to ensure that he doesn't screw up or screw your life up.
These are facts. I hope facts don't offend you all that are watching that want to keep believing how horrible things have been under Biden and Harris. But this is Peter Baker. We're going to have him on in an hour. For the first time, Willie, since George W. Bush's inauguration, no American troops were at war overseas on Inauguration Day. Murders way down. Illegal immigration fallen below where it was when Donald Trump left office. Stock markets are roaring and finished at their best 2 years in a quarter century and are at record highs. Jobs are up. Wages are rising. The economy is growing as quickly as it did during Trump's presidency. Unemployment is as low as it was before the pandemic. Domestic energy production higher than it has ever been. And Willie, did you know our manufacturing sector has more jobs right now than any time than it has in 25 years? So the manufacturing sector up, drug overdose deaths down. And of course, as an economist from Moody's says, who has to look at economies across the world and rate them, America's economy, and this is not even debatable. America's economy is the envy of the world. And even inflation down. Were there some economic headwinds because of inflation over the last 3 years or so? Yeah. But I just say all this to say that history is going to have a clear record on the Biden presidency. And when we move beyond the sound and the fury signifying nothing on social media about how horrible Joe Biden's presidency has been, or on cable news networks saying how horrible Joe Biden's presidency has been, data, the facts, I think they may matter to historians. The facts are going to show that Donald Trump is inheriting a pretty strong economy and a country that is going in the right direction socially, whether you're talking about, whether you're talking about jobs, whether you're talking about illegal immigration, whether you're talking about drug overdose deaths going down. I could go on and on and on, but things are pretty strong right now. And make no doubt, Republicans will be measured 2 years from now and 4 years from now against where America is at this point.
Those are statements of facts. They're not debatable. The numbers are there for people to look up. I tell anybody who listens to my programs, whether here on air, on the radio, on internet, on my 3 o'clock show, do not take what I tell you at face value. Maybe eventually you'll develop enough trust that you do, but I don't need you to take what I say at face value. Everything I say is corroborated and fact-based, and you can look it up in all the different areas that you can get absolute numbers, not numbers that you get from the Heritage Foundation or other places trying to lie to you. So again, Donald Trump is inheriting an economy on the ascent. Now, capitalism has destroyed the American worker. There's no doubt about that. And we have to recover that. We have to create policies that fight against what the capital structure. That's the only way to give those who actually innovate, those who actually create, those who actually work, to give them their fair share of the American economy. The billionaires today have not earned a damn thing. They have only been parasites onto your work, your labor. Every billionaire, and I discount none, nobody has earned $1 billion. You collectively have made the wealthy rich. But the psychology that we have been taught all of our lives have indoctrinated us, have brainwashed us into believing lesser of ourselves. You know, the person who creates and innovates, notice that they're not billionaires. The people who created the microwave, the people who created the electric, every single creation that we have, every innovation, that person is not a billionaire. But the persons who are funded or capitalized by the parasites, somehow are the ones who get all the parasites are the ones who suck the money, suck the blood out of you. It's important for us to understand that.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.